Hello and welcome to Odds on Serie A match day 34. We have already the Coppa Italia final, Inter Lazio. Big surprises. Well, not surprises, Leo, but great games. Actually, we saw this week in a controversial week for Italian football with an earthquake, with some torrid stuff, let's say torrid stuff in the city of Milan.
Yeah.
How are you, Leo?
All good, Edu. Yes, it's going to be Inter Lazio in the final of the Coppa Italia. Inter overcoming in 10 days, 2 times, 2 goals deficit against Como, and Lazio winning on penalties against Atalanta. At least something to smile for Lazio and for Sarri, especially. And in Serie A, it's all done, Edu. It's all done. We just need to sign it off, but it's all about Inter.
Yes, indeed, going for the double. Inter this season, if they are able to win the Coppa Italia. Good job by 𝐬𝐭𝐴 at the end, despite the Champions League. Well, let's analyze everything. In Italy, we are not talking about the stuff that is going on. Again, in Milan with the footballers, everything around the Italian football, it looks pretty bad. The only hope, Leo, at this moment in time is Donald Trump. Why I'm saying this? Because he's suggesting including Italy in the World Cup instead of Iran. Imagine this friendship. Meloni-Trump could help Lazzurra to be in the USA. Let's see what happens next. Perhaps it's the only country where they love Donald Trump at the end of the day. In Italy, if finally they are included in the World Cup. Now, let's talk about betting. Let's talk about football in Serie A. Let me know in the comments what you think, of course, about the games we have this weekend. And now let's go on with the show. Well, Leo, we have Milan-Juve, for instance, this weekend. Yes. But let's start in the south of Italy. Napoli, Cremonese. Napoli lost the second spot. Now they are third level on points with Milan. Important to play the Supercoppa next season. They lost to Lazio. They drew with Parma in the last 2 games. And Cremonese got a point, at least, against Torino after so many defeats. And they are still outside the relegation spots.
Yes, they are on goal difference, and Napoli, Edu, if they have any tiny hope of keep fighting for the Scudetto, those hopes are now gone. Of course, the 1-1 against Parma was already bad on their chances, let alone a 2-0 defeat at home against Lazio, especially the day after Inter did their job. I could think that knowing Inter result was a killer for Napoli, for the players' motivation. If I could look for an excuse, that would be the one. But they should not have one, to be honest. Kevin De Bruyne, McTominay, 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜𝐭𝐿, Spinazzola, Højlund, Politano, all were there. This was not a depleted Napoli, as was the case for months during the season. And they produced very little, very late, because it took time for them to create good chances. As happened with Parma, again, they conceded very early in the game. At the end of Tardini was before the minute. Against Lazio was after 5 minutes. The first half could have been even worse. Lazio missed a penalty. Once Napoli falls behind, it is difficult for them to chase games. And that is not a surprise for a team that scored 30 goals less than Inter, or 9 goals less than Juventus and Como. McTominay has scored 20 goals across the last 2 seasons, and that is showing you the struggles for Conte strikers. Even with Højlund getting 10 goals this season in Serie A, which is an all-right season, knowing from where he's coming from, because his time in Manchester, of course, was very difficult. But that is very little for your main target man to score 10 goals if you want to fight for the Scudetto. The same thing I've been saying about Milan, for instance. And this is not a team that did not invest in attacking players. Højlund, 50 million. Lukaku, 30 million. David Neres, 30 million. Lorenzo Luca, another 35. Noah Lang, 28 million. Anyway, this won't change my mind that in the end, to have won the Supercoppa and being close again to Champions League football constitutes an okay season for Napoli. The one with Lazio was the first defeat in the last 7 games, and now comes this Cremonese with all the urgencies. Nothing changed from them last week, withdrawing with the draw against Torino, because then Lecce as well drew the game against Fiorentina on Monday night. They still must face Lazio, Udinese and 𝐿𝐭𝐵𝐺𝐻 apart from this Napoli match. So the only winnable game on the horizon for them, I would say, is Pisa at home in 2 weeks' time. That is why their fate, for me, depends on Lecce more than on themselves. My take here, Napoli half-time, full-time market, 1.97.
All right, well, nothing on stake in the next one, Parma, Pisa, because Parma are completely safe, 11 points from Lecce. They beat Udinese after 2 draws, so they are in good shape, facing Pisa. Leo losing all the games. Finally, they score a goal against Genoa. Like Parma to win sounds good. Actually, 2.1 or even under also sounds good, or both combined.
Yes, the odds on Parma good. They got the certificate of Serie A football with that winning away to Udinese 1-0. Look, they scored 24 goals this season, and they have 39 points. That's a massive return. Look at Cremonese. They score more than Parma, 26 goals, and they conceded 47, which is not a lot more than Parma's 40 goals. However, Parma is safe. They are 14th in the table, and Cremonese will likely or probably play Serie B next season. They've been clinical, Edu, and this is a team that competes. They can win, lose, or draw, but they will compete. They bought the idea of Carlos Cuesta. He brought this defensive mentality to the side, something probably he learned from Mikel Arteta. But when you are fighting to avoid relegation, that competitive spirit is very, very important. Only 3 games in all season they conceded more than 2 goals. That was Juventus, Atalanta and Torino. They got fine margins usually on their side. With Udinese, they lost Matteo Pellegrino at the end of the first half because of a concussion, and the player replacing him, Nesta, ends up scoring the winning goal. How many goals Nesta scored this season? Well, the one against Udinese was the first one. And for Pisa, yes, a season that started with enthusiasm after 30 years away from the elite in Italy, but now they just can't wait for this to finish. It's too painful. 15 defeats in the last 20 games, just 1 win to show in that process. I don't think this is going to be a thriller to watch. I would never touch Pisa, of course. The odds on Parma, as you were mentioning, are good, and that is my take. Parma to win 2.1.
And on Saturday, we have Bologna-Roma. We saw this game in the Europa League. It was a draw in the Dallara, but remember, Bologna went through, and I cannot back Roma, Leo, when they are facing a good team this season, even if the odds put them as favorites, I guess, because there is much more on stake. For La Lupa, they are level on points with Como. They couldn't beat Atalanta. Once again, cannot beat a big team. And they are 5 points away from Juventus, so it's going to be almost impossible to qualify for the Champions League. It's been a really disappointing season for Roma, and Bologna. Leo, is also going to be very difficult for them to fight for Europe. They are 6 points away at the moment from Atalanta and 10 from Roma.
Yes, Eduardo. I mean, Vincenzo Italiano said it after the game with Juventus, that the season is over for them. They were at the back of that heavy defeat in Birmingham against Aston Villa in the Europa League. He said that it was not fair that his team did not have enough time to prepare after the trip to England. But come on, it's not new that you play Thursday, Sunday if you are in the Europa League. 3 wins and 2 defeats in the last 5 for this Bologna. At home, anyway, has been a season to forget in a way. 6 wins and 8 defeats in 16 matches for Bologna. And talking about the season to forget, the season for Roma that started very well, and the hopes were there. And now, as I agree with you, Edu, I mean, 5 points away from Juventus, and with 15 to play, it looks very difficult. And if anything could happen positive for them, they need to win this game, but I won't go 𝐻𝐿 anyway. That won't be my take, but they need to win, especially when they could get a favor from Milan against Juventus the day after, and maybe next week we are talking in our show of Roma being 2 points behind the Champions League qualification, but at the moment it doesn't look good at all for them. They won 3 games in the last 9 matches, and look, those 3 wins have been against Cremonese, Lecce, and Pisa. I think that says everything, or most of it, going into this game for Roma. Against Atalanta, a draw which did not help anyone, not Roma, not Atalanta. Supporters jeering the team at the end of the game, showing banners with their discontent because of all this infighting within the club between Gasperini, Ranieri, Massara, and all the other directors. As I said, won't be taking the route of 𝐻𝐿, neither the X1 for Bologna. Might take here both teams to score yes, 1.83.
All right, I want to check here smart bet, and the tool, remember, powered by Oddspedia, is the AI of Oddspedia, says first half result Bologna. So Bologna to win the first half is 3.75, not bad at all, or the draw is 3.3, also very interesting. And the important game for the relegation battle is Verona Lecce, also on Saturday. This is a winnable game for Lecce. Yep. I guess it's marked with a cross in their calendar. They drew with Fiorentina, but they are still in relegation, Leo, because yes, they are not winning games. It's only 7 wins this season, and Verona, they are going to Serie B, 5 consecutive defeats. It's been a horrible season for them. Yeah. So it's now or never for Lecce.
Yeah, it is, Edu. With Fiorentina, they started this kind of mini league because now comes Verona, and then it's going to be Pisa for them. So Fiorentina, Verona, Pisa, that mini league is the one that is deciding the season for Lecce. If they win against Verona and Pisa, they're staying up, definitely. Win one and draw another one, well, and you will be very close, probably. This is because I have no trust in Cremonese. With Parma, I mentioned that they are a team that competes. Or I said that for Parma. Well, I can repeat the same for Lecce in this case. And I've been saying this many times this season. They are a team that compete, and that's why my trust, even though at the moment they are on goal difference, they're under Cremonese, I have more hopes of them. Anyway, let's remember something which is important and because Serie A differs of other leagues in Europe. At the moment, Lecce is on the red zone and Cremonese is not. But because they are on the same points, they're going to be playing a playoff to decide who is the third relegated team if they finish the season on level on points. If there is another team involved, if there are 3 teams involved, then yes, there's no playoff, and we need to start looking at other stuff like goal difference, the results between them. But if it's just 2 teams, like is the case at the moment, Lecce and Cremonese, they're going to be playing a playoff over 2 legs to know who's going under. But I think, anyway, we won't need that, and it's going to be Cremonese because of the fixtures. The run-up fixture for Cremonese is tougher, and Lecce has this chance now with Verona and then with Pisa. This Verona that shows 14 defeats in the last 18 games. On another time, I would say that not getting trashed by Milan or to lose just 1-0 is not bad result, but with this Milan, I'm not so sure that it's very heroic losing only just 1-0. Lecce, a team that cannot score. Edu, they have scored just 22 goals this season. Last season, they were also the least scoring team in Italy with 27 goals, so nothing new for them. No wonder why goals under 2.5 are 1.47 for this clash. The book is looking going for the draw here. My take, Edu, is going to be a combined one. Lecce double chance combined with goals under 2.5, odds of 2.1.
Looks good. I would see a goalless draw, 1-0 result for Lecce, something really close but positive for Lecce. Now, Sunday games, Fiorentina, Sassuolo. Also, the season is over for these two clubs. Fiorentina +8 with the relegation. They said goodbye with pride to the conference league, where they reached the final the last two seasons, but this time they couldn't beat Crystal Palace. But at least, Leo, they are safe in Serie A. It's been a very tough season for 𝐿𝐵 and Sassuolo. Remember, newly promoted team beat �ム𝐵𝐻, and they are doing a great season. They are 10th in the standings. I also wouldn't put Fiorentina here as favorites, as the bookies says. 1.9 for Fiorentina, 4.4 for Sassuolo.
Yeah, me neither. I wouldn't put it that way. Sassuolo, massive win in a massive campaign. That 2-1 win against 𝐬𝐭𝐵𝐻. Fabio Grosso said that it was a masterpiece, the win against 𝐭𝐵𝐻, and it probably was. Two quick fire goals with 𝐵𝗶𝗏 and Sol at the end of the first half. It was enough. They had to suffer, yes, after Nico Paz made it 2-1, but they were always the dominant team, even without the ball. They are short 3 points from Bologna in 8th, and they could still catch them this weekend, Edu. No one's seen this one coming, to be honest. So I personally, last August, for them is 2 wins in the last 3, although away from home is 2 wins in the last 5. But I still believe they can. I believe they can still grow on the table. And for Fiorentina, they've been doing the minimum necessary to stay in Serie A. 8 points with 15 to play is enough for them to think on in Serie A football next season. After all, it was a very difficult one. When they had to change as well manager along the season. Along came Vanoli. He started bad, then he managed to get the team afloat. It's true, I agree, they will left the Conference League with pride against Crystal Palace, winning their game at home 2-1. And with Lecce, they scored first, and Vanoli spoke of a bit of a disappointment of not being able to keep that advantage, but Lecce was a better team in the second half, so the 1-1, I think, was a fair result for them. They lost Robbie Gosens against Lecce after only just 11 minutes. Apparently the same injury he got in October, and he was out for 2 months, so not good news for him. Jack Harrison scoring his first goal in Serie A, the ex-Everton and Leeds player. You said, Edu, the odds are good on Sassuolo. Might take here Sassuolo double chance. Sassuolo double chance, 1.91.
Indeed, the odds are good, as I said. The next game is Genoa. 𝐿𝐵𝐻, tough week for 𝐿𝐵𝐻. They were this close to the Coppa Italia final, 2-0 up in San Siro, and they ended up losing to Inter, as they lost also to Inter a couple of weeks ago. And they lost also to Sassuolo, so they are in a rough patch. The dream of the Champions League is a little bit far away at the moment, and going to Genoa is not easy. Very good numbers lately, completely safe, getting a lot of wins. Pisa or Sassuolo, for instance, lately.
Yes, Edu, and Daniele De Rossi doing marvels with this Genoa. They, with Pisa, they did the job and they won it from behind last weekend. They started with the lack of focus, conceded quickly. Probably they look a little bit overconfident, but it was key, the equalizer for Genoa before halftime, and I believe DDR gave them a hair dryer in the dressing room, because Genoa's attitude at the restart was completely different. They attacked constantly, got the second one after 10 minutes. Lorenzo Colombo scoring that winning goal. He has 7 this season. And for 𝐿𝐵𝐻, Edu, Fabregas will have to collect 𝐿𝐵𝐻's pieces quickly after these 3 consecutive defeats in all competitions, 2 of those against Inter. The last one on Tuesday night, probably the most painful one, because they were so close to a historic opportunity of advancing to the Coppa Italia final. But I think the disappointment as well is happens because the team raised the expectations a lot. If someone would have told us that 𝐿𝐵𝐵 being fifth at this stage of the season, having played the Coppa Italia semi-final, I would have thought it was a drunken dream, maybe. However, now feels a little bit flat because the Champions League looked real, and they had that 2-0 advantage in San Siro to go to the final. But at the end of the day, this is a team that reached a Coppa Italia final, semi-final, last time only in 1986, and in 2017 were bankrupt, and they were in Serie C until 2021. So it's always going to be a season to remember this one, Edu. The thing is, like, Genoa won't give them a respite. Genoa's intensity, winning or losing, is hard to imagine. And 𝐿𝐵𝐵, which many times we have been praising how good defensively they are, they lost that defensive focus. 9 goals conceded in their last 3 games for them, Edu. Genoa's 6 of the last 7 home matches have all been goals over 2.5, and that is the route I'm taking here. Goals over 2.5, odds of 2.07.
And now we have the Italian champions or on the way. Inter going to Torino, plus 12 now with Milan. Inter going for the double, as I said at the beginning. Thanks to the great comeback was 𝗀𝗏𝐿𝐻, the one who scored finally the winner against 𝐿𝐭𝐵𝐻. Is 4 consecutive wins in all competitions. The only thing is that if they are going to relax or the tiredness of the game in midweek, Leo could affect Inter in the game against Torino. Torino, by the way, decent numbers lately, apart from the draw against Cremonese. 4 wins, 1 draw, and 2 defeats in the last 7 games.
Yes, they might be tired. The energy levels might be a little bit low at the moment for Inter, but the motivation is so big that they can overcome that, and they know that this weekend they can celebrate the 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐻. They will need to see as well anyway what happened on Friday, which I don't think that Cremonese is gonna help them, but they are so close. If it's not this Sunday, it's gonna be next weekend at home in San Siro with their people. I think I owe an apology to 𝐻𝐿𝐴. I did not think over the summer that Inter winning the 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐵𝐻 by this margin, having a massive opportunity of winning the double was possible. It's clearly improvement at the end of the day when we compare last season under Simone Inzaghi, because in the last one with Inzaghi they went from that quadruple chance to win nothing in the end and being trashed in the Champions League final. I mentioned that probably there's not a blueprint philosophy from 𝐬𝐵 as with Inzaghi, but the 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐵 is there for him to show. And let's not forget that 𝐬𝐵 took Inter's job after being a manager only 13 games. That was his experience, 13 matches managing Parma. That's all. So in the end, it's impressive. We've been talking this season how difficult it was for Inter and 𝐬𝐵 to win the important games, and he overcame that. Juventus, 𝐭𝐵𝐻 twice, and the way they beat 𝐭𝐵𝐻 in San Siro in the Coppa Italia semi-final in the second half, coming from behind, 2-0 behind. So it's just, I mean, to beat 𝐭𝐵𝐻 twice in 10 days, and both times coming 2 goals from behind is not from everyone. 𝐬𝐵 gave trust to fringe players, and they did respond, like because Dumfries was the hero at the lake, and on Tuesday he did not even come on, and it was the turn for 𝗀𝗏𝐻, as you mentioned, Boni or Pio Esposito. 𝐬𝐵 used the term Pazza Inter, crazy Inter, which used to be the term for Inter before Conte and Inzaghi took over. So yes, impressive with this Inter and 𝐬𝐵, Edu. On Torino, the 0-0 against Cremonese left nothing, I would say, neither positive nor negative, as is usually the case for the Granata. It was a bad game, to be honest, that 0-0. It could be used in nurseries in Italy to make sure that the kids fall asleep, because not many chances in that game against Cremonese. My take here, Edu, is clear, and despite what you mentioned of Inter playing in midweek, but for me it's Inter to win and Inter first team to score These two together, odds of 2.
Smart bet for this game is under 3.5 goals. Odds are 1.5. And the super game this week is Milan Juventus, both in the Champions League spots. Juventus in a great streak after the KO in the Champions League, beat Bologna 3 wins in a row, and Milan, Leo, not convincing, but finally won against Verona 1-0. The last time they went into San Siro, they lost 3-0 to Udinese. That's why the bookies place 𝐻𝐵𝐵𝐾𝐿 Juventus as favorites here, 2.5.
Yes, and I can trust Milan. I mean, they were awful against Verona. With all the talk of Allegri having chances to take the Nazionale, I think plenty of Milan supporters will be happy. They don't have to see this level of football next season. But at the same time, for Allegri and for most of Milan supporters, to win and to be close to a Champions League return is all that matter. Knowing that this Sunday derby against Juventus could be crucial, because if 𝐻𝐵𝐵𝐾𝐿 wins, they will pass them on goal difference. And also they are a little bit fine, I would say, Milan, even if they lose with Juventus, because the gap between Juve and Roma and 𝐿𝐵𝐴 is 5 points, which plays in Milan's favor too. But they were very awful against Verona. We can talk about Adrien Rabiot scoring from Leao assist, but Maignan made several saves to keep Milan winning. Allegri just mentioned at the end of the game that they should have done better. But at this moment, they must, of course, knuckle down and get the points for the Champions League. Milan striker disappointing again. Pulisic had no impact on the game and is still without a goal in 2026. Leo lasted 60 minutes on the pitch, but at least this time he did not throw a tantrum like on Matchday 42. There was a strange moment as well with Allegri furious with Santi Giménez in the final minutes and almost threatening to replace him with Niklas Füllkrug, but in the end he left him on the pitch. It is also no surprise that Milan dropped in their performance levels, because Rabiot and Modric are also not a notch down, I would say, of they were a month ago. I believe Maignan should be the MVP of the season for Milan. And Juventus, they are right on track. 3 consecutive wins, 5 wins in the last 7. Against Bologna, they dominated from the start. They had even Jonathan David scoring after only 2 minutes. Probably playing his best match, his best game since arriving last summer, Jonathan David. If he managed to wake up his season in the last run, maybe he can make Juventus think twice if it's a good idea of letting him go in July, August. It was a very good win without 𝐜𝐵𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜 almost for the full game. He only played the last 15 minutes. There was a lot of dynamism with Jeremy Boga, 𝐜𝐭𝐚𝐲, both behind Jonathan David. Thuram coming on the second half was an extra gear for Juventus midfield. He scored as well the second goal. In a season in which they drop points at home with Lecce, Lazio or Torino, it was very good for them that they didn't drop the intensity against Bologna after scoring the first one. The reverse fixture in Turin finished with the 0-0 between Juventus and Milan. I don't see that we are going to have a night here with fireworks in San Siro. Juventus is a favorite in my view, and I will take that route. Juventus to win, the odds are high and good. Juve to win, 2.6.
Okay, be careful, because Milan against the big teams, they are performing, Leo. It's the only way they show up in the pitch against the bad teams. They struggle, but they've been competitive against top teams. Good game, this Milan-Juventus. Let's check out smart bet going for Milan, actually. First half result, Milan is the top tip, 3.55. And for Monday, we have 2 games. Cagliari-Atalanta. Atalanta just lost the Coppa Italia semi-finals. They went into penalties, as you said at the beginning, and lost a season to be forgotten by 𝐻𝐵𝐵𝐴, but still some chances to play in Europe. They are -4 right now with Roma, so they should put pressure. And also Cagliari, they are not safe yet. Leo is +5 with the relegation, but they are in an awful form. It's 5 defeats in the last 6 games.
Yes, Edu, and that 5 points gap is huge for them. Yes. Because of their own level and because of their fixtures as well. They have Atalanta, and they are coming from that thrashing against Inter, and they still need to play Milan and Bologna. But I think they shouldn't have troubles. I don't see that happening with Lecce and Cremonese behind. The last time at home was that 1-0 against Cremonese, which is the only win in the last 10. With 7 defeats for Cagliari. They managed to go through the first half without conceding against Inter, but those 2 goals in quick succession killed them at the start of the second half. But they knew that being perfect probably was not even going to be enough against Inter. Could Atalanta be the chance of getting something? Well, it is more probable now than 3 weeks ago when 𝐜𝐴 was still chasing Europe. I mean, even Conference League now seems a little bit difficult with that gap that you mentioned, 4 points with Roma. I think the confidence and motivation a little bit on the floor now after the defeat on penalties with Lazio in the 𝐬𝐭𝐵𝐼. Paradino was saying that semi-final with Lazio was the most important game of the season for them. So the impact could be big going into this fixture. And Cagliari will try to keep the game alive, at least going into the second half. That's for sure. That's why my take here is a Cagliari first half double chance. First half double chance for Cagliari, 1.62.
Okay, smart bet going also for double chance Cagliari, but at full time. And it's 2.10 if you think the home team will get something out of this game. And the last game, this match day 34, is Lazio Udinese. At the end, Lazio and Sarri can save the season if they are able to lift the Coppa Italia trophy. At least they are going to the Olimpico with some hope at the end of the season. So the season could not be that bad, really bad in terms of Serie A. They are 9th in the standings, but they are getting better actually, as we saw also at the Maradona beating Napoli and Udinese, this team that is impossible to read. Leo, they were coming from a 3-0 win in San Siro, and then they lost to Parma.
Absolutely, Edu. And it's incredible the season for Lazio that they're in the final. They're going to be playing, which is their home ground. But the manager still needs to ask the supporters to end the strike, because remember, when Lazio plays home, the fans do not show up because in protest with the hierarchy, with the directors and the owner of the club. But Sarri asked for them to be present the 13th of May, and for sure they're gonna do it. The destiny for them kept the best for the end, because winning 4 and drawing 1 of the last 6 in Serie A, winning against Milan and Napoli in that run, and now getting to the final of this Coppa Italia is very good for Lazio. And I was talking many times of Maurizio Sarri cannot wait for the end of the season, and now he's smiling as he's done against Atalanta on Wednesday night. And they could still have the chance then to access Europe if they win the Coppa Italia. Look, over 2 legs, I would say probably they wouldn't have chance with Inter, but it's just 1 game. They need to do it for 1 game, so the chance is going to be there. It was a tense semi-final with Atalanta because they had to go to the shootout, but also because 𝐋𝐿 almost won it with a header at the end of the extra time. But to reach that Coppa Italia, look, Lazio had to take away last season finalists against Bologna and Milan. They took them away, and now Atalanta. So a good trip this Coppa Italia has been for them. They have been struggling to score goals all season, but they become more efficient and more solid defensively. Against Napoli last weekend, they found the opener at the start, and afterwards they managed the game very well. Cancellieri scored his 4th goal of the season, and we are talking of one of the most important credentials in attack for Lazio. At home, they have 3 wins in the last 5. And now the inconsistency kings will be in town after that defeat against Parma. Nothing new under the sun with Udinese. Probably Sarri will rotate a little bit, but he does not count with a large squad to play that card. And also they will have anyway 5 days to rest this Lazio. On the road, the last 3 results of Udinese show 2-2 with Atalanta, 2-0 win against Genoa, and that massive 3-0 win in San Siro against Milan. I see the momentum, of course, is with Lazio in a way, but not as clear as with the bookies for me, Edu. And with Lazio already thinking in the Coppa Italia final, with Udinese impossible to read. My take here is a draw, Edu. Draw 3.3.
Impossible to trust Udinese or Lazio, indeed. Well, this is it. Match day 34. Remember, guys, that we have our tipster competitions going on. An opportunity for you to earn some money thanks to Oddspedia. It's completely for free to register in our website, and you can participate there. Or also Rivals. You can create your own tipster competition. Play with your friends. Join the ones that are created. Rivals. Leo, safe bet.
Napoli to win, 1.35.
ACCA?
Napoli half-time, full-time. Inter to win, and Inter first team to score. Bologna, Roma, both teams to score. Yes, the three together, 7.21.
Good luck to everyone. Leo, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.